Savvy Business Radio, drawing out the best from our guests. With our host, Christina Nichman.
Our guest today is Rosalinda Randall. She has been combating rude behavior and spreading civility for over a decade. She focuses on communication styles, presence, and professional behavior, helping individuals consider options to interact more effectively, with less drama, less potential for harassment, and without losing their individuality. She is also the author of Don't Burp in the Boardroom, Handling Common Workplace Dilemmas. Find out more about her and get her book at rosalindarandall.com. Hi, Rosalinda. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio for our Heartbeat of the World segment. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much.
I'm very happy to have you here this evening. We were having a bit of a trouble getting together, but I'm so glad we were able to get together because you are a civility and etiquette trainer, speaker, and author. And boy, is that needed more than ever these days. I'm finding a lot of incivility, if that's even a word, but people being not too nice to each other. And I'm really hoping you can help our audience find ways to be more civil and more understanding and tolerant of each other. So before we go into all of that, share with our audience a little bit about your background, what brought you to being in this niche.
Well, it's quite simple. It was how I was raised, and not with, the 7 forks and the finger bowls or any of that. It was very modest upbringing, and those things came later. But what my parents, the foundation they gave me, which is what I really focus on. I mean, there's a lot of rules and, to follow etiquette and manners and things, but the foundation are certain traits that my parents exhibited and taught us and what I live my life by. And that's really where the focus is. And the etiquette part came naturally after that. And those were the technical things. So I started doing it on my own and then saw that there was interest, and I was trained and certified several years ago in Washington, D.C. And it also allowed me to take control of my business as I was home with our sons, and I wanted to devote a lot of time to them. So it really was a flexible thing to do and a natural thing to do, and it was how I was living already. So it just was natural. I keep using that word, but that's a simple story on how I got into this.
Well, I like that because what I'm coming through for me is a lot of people who've come on the show have mentioned things they end up doing in a business or a passion that turns into something that they help the world be better and at the same time create value and get paid for it. And it's usually something that they do quite naturally. They don't even think about it. It becomes like, oh, I just do this second nature. And then one day they decide, hey, I could just give this as a valued service to someone or product. So I think it's interesting that your parents you sampled that from or got that from them and then decided, hey, this is something I do naturally. I can give this to other people.
Yes, and it is very simple to do, and everyone has it in them. Maybe it hasn't been displayed to them, and that's where the, I guess obstacle lies with people who maybe are more self-centered or don't think about that. I think that they are that way, not because they are not some because they're not aware, others, they're just curmudgeons, and naturally. And then others, it was never modeled or demonstrated or encouraged. So how do you live with these things when you don't know about them?
And it's interesting because civility and etiquette bring up two different pictures in my mind. Civility is treating your neighbor with respect, not blowing off at them and losing your temper or whatever. Etiquette seems like kind of an old-fashioned idea of, like you said, where the forks are on a certain part and you do things just precisely. For people who don't know at all what the two of them mean, explain a little bit about what each of them mean and how you put them into practice.
Well, etiquette really are the rules that guide our behavior, simply put. And they're ever evolving. 10, 12, 15 years ago, we didn't have rules or etiquette surrounding the cell phone use. And that wasn't around. Women in the workplace. I mean, I know it's been years now, but things had to develop as our society changes and evolves. We realize, okay, so for example, when the cell phone came in, okay, not everyone had one. And it was, we embrace technology. We embrace as a country typically new ideas and new trends. But then, we start realizing, wait, this bugs us, or we don't like this. And as a whole, as a society, because people have asked me that, said, no, there aren't like 5 etiquette people sitting in a tower going, yeah, we don't like this. Let's make people do this. And, they spread the word. That doesn't happen. It's we as a society in general don't like people who are looking down at their cell phone, walking down the street where we have to move for them. People don't like hearing other people's conversations in the waiting room about, their boyfriend is breaking up with them and all the gossip. We don't like hearing that. So we have implemented these, unwritten rules on how to annoy people less. Basically, that's what it comes down to. So etiquette, again, are the rules that guide our behavior, and civility, good manners, are how we demonstrate, how we carry out those rules. Are the two different.
I see. And what I'm thinking is, it's interesting. I think we can all, I know myself, have been guilty at one time or another doing something that's not quite that etiquette or civil to our neighbor. I remember once I was getting my laundry done. I was clicking these coins in my hand because I was just, bored. And I didn't realize what I was doing, but my neighbor was like, the person next to me was like, stop it. They finally told me, just stop it. And I think, how do we begin as a society? Because I know that as a whole, we begin to make these rules like, hey, stop looking at your phone, look up. But how do we as people begin to become more aware of how we might be one of those people who are being annoying?
Well, that's very difficult, because in this day and age, you cannot, or you take your life in your own hands, and sometimes literally, if you want to approach someone to ask them to please stop, even in the politest way. I mean, the worst, and I'm exaggerating a little, is they can turn around and stab you, shoot you, and more commonly, cuss you out. Push you and say none of your business, and make a scene. So that is one thing that I have noticed, that in the past, people could approach someone else. It was society, kind of peer pressure, where someone would approach someone's child that was misbehaving, like, okay, you're going to hurt yourself, you need to stop. Now, a mother, I did that several years ago, and the mother came because the little boy the rack was teetering, and I tried not to say anything, but I thought, you can fall on him. So I did say, I said, excuse me, you're going to fall, blah, blah, blah. The mother came over and yelled at me for reprimanding or speaking to her child. So with those things in mind, it really deters us, or we're more hesitant to speak our mind and tell people that this is unacceptable. Even when there were a group of guys who were at a swimming pool with our sons, this was, again, some time ago, and obviously it looked like a bachelor party type of thing, and they were talking about the night before of some of their escapades loudly. And that's cool. I don't care what you did, but my younger children are here, and I don't particularly want to hear about it either. And this is a common area. I did go up to them. My husband wasn't there at the time, and I said, excuse me. And luckily these happened to be nice guys. Oh gosh, sorry, ma'am. Yeah. You don't always get that, but sometimes we have to decide how important it is. Do we want to take that risk? But I think that people are unaware. One, again, the family unity. And I know that sounds so old school, but when I was raised too, it was the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents. They all had that influence on you. And the neighbors, I know I sound so old, but it was true. A neighbor lady could reprimand you or say, don't do this, and okay, and it would be the same as your parents. And this day and age, that doesn't happen. And I also believe, I love technology, but and we have to find something to blame, right? Not ourselves. The television in everyone's room, families not being together, families having jobs that take them away for a while. So there isn't that time. I'm not saying that they don't do it when they're together, but we lack a lot of family time because we're always going here, dropping kids off to this and daycare and working, and that there's not enough influence, possibly.
Wow. I love that you're mentioning all these points because I hadn't thought of it. When I had asked the question, I was thinking, what do we do as individuals to become aware of our own behavior? But yeah, you're right. I mean, you're scared to go up to a stranger if you see them doing something like you're a kid doing something dangerous because the parent might go off on you. And then mentioning bringing up the idea that it could be the breakdown of family structure, which I hadn't really contemplated one having to do with another. And that technology could play a part in that. I'm thinking with everyone listening in here that we could begin to decide or figure out ways in which we can bring less of that technology into our family and into our lives. What's your take on that?
I think just in general, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
The more disconnected we become, I think the less, I know this sounds so out there, but the less concern we have for other people, because if we're not, considering other people within our family, we're definitely not going to, it's not going to light up and do it when we're at the workplace or in a bus. And the only way to learn to become aware, or not the only way, but one way, is interacting with the family. But if we're all watching what we watch in separate rooms versus compromising and learning how to find a way to watch one TV together, eating at the table, waiting for everyone to sit down before we start inhaling our food. That's the one thing when I taught children of all ages and from all backgrounds, money and no money, that was a huge comment that I heard. Oh, my dad eats at the computer. I eat with my nanny. Oh, my mom eats over there. We don't eat. I eat in my room. So I think the lack of interaction in the home due to a lot of these other things and activities, again, so much has changed that there aren't opportunities to learn how to practice to become aware or considerate or respectful of things, just the basic things, which are some of the traits that I learned. Being humble in the home, giving, okay, well, I had a donut last week or yesterday, this is the last one. Here, Dad, you have it. You work hard. Those little things that we are instilled just by living and interacting in the home. So when you don't have that, then you do become more self-aware and just of your own comforts. Versus other people.
It's amazing. My boyfriend had long since said, since I've known him, that if everyone in the world just gave a little bit, and not just, he wasn't talking about money, he would just mean of time, of yourself, maybe money, but that we wouldn't have need on this planet at all if everyone just gave a little bit. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Whenever he says that, he always says when, he sees someone kind of pulling alongside and just grabbing a parking space, he's like, was that necessary? There's others. Yeah. But, and his idea is, and he always says this to me when we're together, if only everyone just gave a little bit, there wouldn't be any issues. And I think that's really interesting when he says that. But another thing you mentioned, go. I feel you want to say something.
No. That is such a simple statement, but so difficult to implement, isn't it? It's a beautiful statement that he says, and most things are very simple to do, but it's hard to make ourselves do it. Yes.
And it begins, like you said, just starting to become aware. Pay attention to your everyday behaviors. One of the things that's one of my biggest pet peeves and has kept me for the longest time getting a cell phone until this past year was the fact that I hate that everyone, the minute it rings, people feel they have to go pick it up. Oh my gosh, I must look at who sent me something. And I'm like, let it go. I go to dinner with someone and about 10 times during dinner, I'm like, don't touch it. But so I've told a couple of my friends, leave your phone off while we're eating dinner. And they're like, well, what if someone important called? It's not that important. We're eating dinner for an hour. Seriously.
No, that's true. And if you are, let's just take that scenario. If you are expecting an important call, meaning your sister's about to have a baby, something important, not where you're meeting for dinner tomorrow. That can wait. As you said, it's not important. Tell whomever you're going to be meeting with and just say, I will have to check my phone. There's something, a family matter that I'll have to check. And just do that briefly, get up, get away from the table, take the call, whatever you need to do, and come back and then put it away. Because there are certain times that, we are expecting some news or something, but
Yeah.
Or if it's that important, cancel and go be with this important event is happening.
Yes,
Another
exactly.
option.
Exactly. Why be here with me when you want to be somewhere else?
Yes, that's true.
And it's interesting because you had mentioned something also before that really stuck for me about how we don't pay attention to others around us. And we have neighbors that have moved into our building recently who are totally from another country. And they've taken to playing in the hallway all day long with their kids. Like their kids run about the hallway. And my boyfriend was like, what is going on with them? Why do they do that? And so we were a little annoyed at first, but we found out that in their country, that's what they do. It's kind of like, because it's a communal type setting where they came from, everyone, all the neighbors, like you had mentioned, kind of look after each other, and they're all kind of one big happy tribe. There is like a private space, but all the space, like the communal space, belongs to everyone. And so here, I live in New York City, the hallways are not a communal space. It's kind of like a passing space where you go from, the elevator or stairs to your apartment. So talking to her made me feel like, okay, now I understand why you're doing it. And it ticks me off a little less. And so I think that's what you were talking about when you start to become a little bit more aware and ask questions. You're like, okay, this person isn't trying to be annoying. There's a reason they do what they do.
Oh, that is a perfect example. You took the time to go and speak to someone to clarify a misunderstanding or a dilemma. That is something that we do not do. It bugs us, and we're going to retaliate, no matter how, So what you did is what I promote. Sometimes it is a misunderstanding. And yes, now you said you're still annoyed, and rightly so, because here, generally in this country, we don't use that, or not on a regular basis, for our children or anyone to be going up and down the halls. However, you're understanding, you're trying. Hopefully, if that neighbor is applying the same method as you are applying, they will tone down or limit a little bit the running up and down for their children, so that they don't annoy you. And that's where your boyfriend's comment, if we all did a little, it's not going to be our way. And which is the other thing, we want it our way completely. And I used to tell our sons this, and I tell people this. Sometimes we do get what we want, only it's not wrapped in the light blue shimmering paper with the gold bow that we wanted. No, it came in a paper bag. And take it. Sometimes we do, but it isn't exactly how we wanted it. So we don't think that that's enough. And we keep fighting and fighting and fighting, literally and figuratively, over things. When, you got a gift. It was a smaller package and not wrapped as pretty as it could be, but it helped. It was something, a token gift, put it that way.
And I think a lot of what goes on to annoy us or to make us angry at each other as neighbors or people or coworkers is really often misunderstanding from the other person's point of view and your point of view. Everyone comes into this world and grows up with different experiences and has a different perspective on what the world is like. And I think sometimes the only way for us to come together is to really start to ask, what is your point of view, so that we can come to a common understanding, like, oh, okay, because really, I've said this on my show so many times, that really at the basic core of it all, we all want to be loved and loved. We want family, we want to have our kids be healthy, and we want to be able to enjoy life. So I think at the core of it, we all want the same things.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And yes, misunderstandings, and then you throw... whether it's face-to-face, at least you get the facial gestures, the tone of voice. But now we're adding this because of technology. Again, as we evolve, now we have even more misunderstandings through email, through texting, because we use shorter words, or this word, or we cap. I mean, who decided that capital is screaming, using capital letters? I mean, so people evolve. That's an etiquette rule, like, oh, never use capital letters when you're sending a business email. Okay, who decided that? We, as a society. I don't know the person that decided, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Lost the point.
No, no, actually, it makes sense because I remember a long time ago, someone sent me an email. It was all lowercase. I guess they didn't want to just, meddle around with the uppercase. And my boyfriend's like, "Oh, that means someone who's not all that smart." I'm like, "Where did that come from?" But I love, I love that you mentioned the idea of email and that there can be much more misunderstanding with our technologies. And just today, someone came over to me really frustrated about an email they got. What does this person mean by this? And they're rattling off, and they want me to explain what that person. I don't know who that person is, so I have no idea what's in their head. But I told her, pick up the phone and ask them, call them, because sometimes we will wrap our brains up, take something and twist it in a million different directions of what we think the person means. And this is even on a phone or an email. And really, instead of asking them, did you mean this? And then they can clarify and say, no, I totally meant this. But until we clarify, and I find that interesting. I don't know about you, Rosalinda. For me, I notice more and more people do not want to talk to people on the phone. They want to just email it or text it. Like, no, I don't want to talk to people. I just want, where does that come from?
I think it's easier. I think we're more in control. Also, we won't be caught off guard by a question or something that we weren't prepared to answer or don't want to answer. Confrontation. Maybe we're trying to elude or get out of something, and it's much easier to do when you're writing it versus you hearing my voice that's shaking, or if you can tell that I'm not all in or interested. I think it's a combination of those things. And there are studies, and studies can be studies and make it what you want, but there have been so many that, especially the younger generation, and I mean, even the 35-year-olds and younger, are uncomfortable having a face-to-face conversation because they were raised with this, even with their parents. Pick me up. Yeah, I'm here. And the vocabulary is limited. So when they're put in front of another person, that's how they talk. And now you're making me sentences and you're making me answer right now. I'm uncomfortable. I think that's a lot of it. What I recommend to people, if it's going to be a lengthy discussion, call. If it's going to be something that you're both figuring out, well, what about this? What about that? Going back and forth with ideas and opinions, call. If it's confidential, call. Once you put it on there, it's there. It doesn't mean it's confidential because you send it to that person. They can forward it to whomever they want. At least a phone call, you have some control over that. And also you can clarify, as you said, the misunderstanding immediately. I may say something right now or use a word or an expression, and you can say, oh, what did you mean by that? We can clarify versus sitting with it and figuring out, like your friend. That happens so much. I mean, people lose relationships over this. People have misunderstandings and don't do business with someone because of email. And we all have, as you said earlier, perspective, experiences, expectations. That's a killer. But we expect a certain way of being talked to. And if they don't, that's it. We shut down. Oh, who do they think they are? And that's where talking really does clarify a lot of things. So I'm a big proponent of call when it's something that's a little bit more meaningful, other than, are you picking up dinner? Where do we meet? I mean, that's what texting I think is fabulous for. But even then, you can have some misunderstandings.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tonight it was perfect. I was able to text you and say I was running late. So a perfect solution. Thank God I had a texter on me. But yeah, how do you stand, and what's your perspective on gossip? It's something I've always hated when I worked in an office. How do you teach people about that and how to deal with gossip?
It is here to stay. It's been here forever. It will always be here. And no matter, I really would challenge anybody, no matter what you say, we've all participated in one form or another. Sometimes it's hurtful gossip. Sometimes it's gossip because we don't like someone. Other times it's telling some information that someone told you not to tell, and you go, oh, I trust you. Don't tell them I told you. I mean, even if it's somewhat harmless gossip, or I know somebody's having a baby and they don't really want to tell anyone, but I went and told just, this one person. I mean, so gossip can be sharing wonderful news. Usually it's something bad. And I always tell people, if it's something that, and you've heard it before, if it's something you wouldn't say in front of that person, then it's gossip. Basically, it comes down to that, Why bother? and people say, well, sometimes at work, you want to share with a coworker, especially a new coworker, about another person. If it's harmful, if that person is the kind of person that borrows money and never pays back, and they've been doing it forever, could that be something that you'd alert someone to? Would it be considered gossip or sharing helpful information? That's something that each person has to decide. I would want to know that, so I'm not, the next chump. But the one way to get away from gossip, because again, it's going to be there, and one way is to walk away. When you hear it start, just say, oh, hey guys, I'll see you later, and you leave. Because we can't tell them what to do. I mean, we can, depending, again, there's so many what ifs, depending on the relationship you have with that group of coworkers. You can say, wow, I hope I hope you don't talk this way about me when I'm not around. You might say things like, oh, I'm surprised that you guys are talking about them, or, oh, this is interesting. Let's go tell that person what people are saying about them. If you say something like that, they'll probably never include you in gossip again.
That's for sure.
But, so those are one way to remove yourself. Now, if you want to go and stop people, you can say, I don't participate in gossip. It isn't a nice thing to do, but then it may not be taken very well, especially in a workplace. It's like, who are you? My mom? Don't tell me what to do. So those, again, you don't want to distance yourself, especially in a workplace setting. Just go, oh, I got enough drama on my own. I don't need to hear more. Ha ha ha. You can make light of it. Use humor, and that's all you can do. But the less you participate, the better. And I know we're all curious, so sometimes we want to stick around and walk out of the room real slow, like so we can catch a little. But it's because we're curious people. That's the nature of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say, from my own experience, that some gossip is totally false and some has some forms of grains of truth in it. Because I recall many years ago starting a position in a new job, and people had all warned me in my department, beware of the manager or supervisor. She's, how should you call it? When you do something underhanded and you can't trust someone, they're
like manipulative, or
they don't do something straight on. They look like they're being cool, but then they kind of go whatever. So they said, beware of her. She can do stuff like this. And I said, yeah, whatever. Because I hate stuff like that. So I was ignoring it. And lo and behold, they were right. The first 6 months I was there, she gave me raving reviews. Everything's awesome. And then when it came time down there long enough to get an official review, she said some not nice things that were absolutely completely untrue. And backstabbing is the word they used. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, whoa, they were telling me the truth. So I think you can be right to maybe listen but not participate, and just keep it in mind so you know how to maybe be around a certain situation. Because I said to myself later on, oh man, I should have at least paid attention to what they were saying. So it can come in handy, but maybe you don't have to participate.
Yes, and that's what I mean. Certain things might be helpful to you, and it's just how it's said. But definitely in the workplace, I was referring more to, oh, she's just a witch. I wouldn't talk to her. Well, maybe she is to you for some reasons, but don't let that type of gossip influence getting to know someone, because that has happened many times, even in a business setting, where someone says, oh, I don't work with them, I just didn't like them. Oh, okay, well, I did. We all have different personalities, and we all have different tolerances. That's the other thing too, that what might bother you may not bother me. I can overlook it, and that is also a consideration when you're dealing with a lot of dilemmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's different. One cup of tea is not another person's cup of tea. But this has been so fascinating having you share this topic, which I don't think we've have had anyone talk about, but I don't want anyone to leave without finding out how they can find out more about you. You've also written, I see here, 2 books, Don't Burp in the Boardroom. I love that title. Handling Common Workplace Dilemmas. We were just talking about some. Explain a little bit on how people can find out more about you and get your books.
Well, it's very simple. My website has everything, social media, book, everything, rosalindarandall.com.
Oh, wow.
And, simple.
That was simple. And to leave off today, to leave everyone with one final major piece of advice when it comes to etiquette or civility, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I have to limit it to one. All right. I think the one I would pick, and it's one of my favorite words, is overlook. Overlook things that people do and say to you. Naturally, if it's vulgar, if it's offensive in a sense of hurtful and damaging and harmful. But that thing about being offended, I can be offended 13 times just walking to my car and driving to the corner. If we overlook things that maybe annoy us at that annoyance level and just focus on what you're doing, what your goal is, I think we would have happier people and less conflict with someone, less grumpy facial expressions as we walk around, because a lot of people are looking to see what can offend them. And you're missing out on the wonderful things and the smiles that someone might be giving you because you're looking for something else. So overlook as much as you can.
Wow. I love that you said that. There's a couple people I've met throughout my life, my mom being one of them, who was grumpy face in her life, always. And I'm always like, you're missing out the beauty that is everywhere. But yeah, and that's a great tip for everyone, just to remember, things could be awesome. Just, get rid of grumpy face and just start letting it go. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Rosalinda. It's been a pleasure having you this evening to share your great wisdom on etiquette and civility. Thank you so much for coming to Savvy Business Radio.
Thank you.
Savvy Business Radio. Find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest. Call 732-474-7375 or email Christina@savvybusinessradio.com.
Welcome to the Racing to Success Minute with Nadine Lajoie. Would you like to attract more clients in your business? You need to become an expert. Ask yourself why some people are expert in 1, 2, or 3 industries while others are not doing anything. And are you an expert in your industry? To do that, you really need to be focused. And as a motorcycle racer, you need to get through the finish line. You need to do your homework. You need to examine what is your competition. You need to really take care of every detail in your business about your image, about your branding, and about the feeling that you are communicating with your people. All little details can make a difference, and there is 9-step process to become an expert, and you can visit nadineracing.com.